Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Locke carefully observed along the way and found that he was not being followed. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He was still very confident in his anti-tracking technology. Half an hour later, he arrived at the Chinese area. Seeing the Chinese signs on the side of the car and the black-haired and yellow-skinned pedestrians on the street, he couldn't help but feel friendly. People always have a natural sense of closeness to people of the same origin. The Chinese area in the eastern part of the San Gabriel Valley is completely different from the traditional Chinatown. It is now a complete Chinese community, and 60% of the population is Chinese. Here, even if you only know Chinese, you can survive well. Locke changed into a hoodie in the car, put on a baseball cap and a pair of plain glasses, and put the hood of the hoodie on the baseball cap before getting off the car. After getting off the car, he made 2 big circles with ulterior motives to make sure that there was really no tracking behind him. Then he turned and went into a small alley, and finally stopped in front of a pharmacy with only a light sign. He couldn't help but be cautious. If he wasn't cautious enough, he wouldn't have lived so long in the organization in his previous life. This kind of caution has been ingrained into his bones. Before entering the pharmacy, Locke put on the mask again. This store is a stall in Chinatown that specializes in selling banned drugs and is only open at night. There was nothing in the pharmacy, only a staircase, where a young Chinese man in his 20s was lying on the counter playing with his mobile phone, with a Colt M2000 next to him. He was obviously not surprised by Locke's behavior of covering his head and face, and asked directly in Chinese, "What medicine do you need?" Locke replied in Chinese, "Propofol, etomidate, dexmedetomidine, midazolam, fentanyl." "Wait a minute," the Chinese youth interrupted Locke, took out a walkie-talkie from under the counter, and handed it directly to his mouth. "Say it again." Locke reported it again, and when he finished speaking, a voice came from the walkie-talkie, telling him that there were several types that were out of stock. Locke replied, "I want whatever you have." The intercom immediately quoted, $1,000, pay first. Without any hesitation, Locke bent 2 fingers, took out a transparent PVC bag from his pocket, and handed it to the Chinese youth at the counter. The Chinese youth opened the PVC bag, counted the money, and replied to the intercom, "I've received the money." He put the money in the drawer and said to Locke, "Go up." Locke glanced at the stairs and hesitated for a moment. He didn't bring a gun, but when he thought of L3's mixed martial arts, he thanked him and walked up the stairs. In such a small space, he believed he could still handle it, but he still had to get an unregistered gun as soon as possible. No accident happened. It seems that the local Chinese gangs are still very reputable. At the staircase on the 4th floor, a Chinese had handed him 2 black bags and directed him to leave from another exit. After going down the stairs from another exit, Locke did not go back to the car, but took off his mask and continued to purchase things. He also bought some daily necessities, such as Chinese food seasonings, latex gloves, a brand new set of dark work clothes, cosmetics, etc. By the time he got back to the parking place, an hour had passed. After getting in the car, Locke left immediately. After a big circle, he found a Sichuan restaurant to solve his dinner. The novel was taken from the Rawla's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Most of the diners in this restaurant are Chinese. Listening to the Chinese around him, it feels like being in China. Locke ordered 3 dishes, a mapo tofu, a kung pao chicken, and a seaweed egg drop soup. Half an hour later, he finished 2 bowls of rice and ate all 3 dishes. Sure enough, to eat Chinese food, you still have to go to the Chinese community. This is the authentic Chinese food. After eating, Locke suddenly had an idea and called his cheap dad in New York, saying that he found a great Chinese restaurant and wanted to take him to eat when Li Bo returned to Los Angeles. Li Bo was very surprised by Locke's call. Since Locke entered the rebellious period in high school, the father and son quarreled every now and then, which buried a deep gap. Locke rarely took the initiative to call him. Li Bo was very happy that his son took the initiative to call him and wanted to invite him to dinner, and he agreed at once. Li Bo curiously asked Locke why he suddenly went to the Chinese area to eat Chinese food. Locke then told him about having lunch at Panda Express with his colleagues at noon. It's obviously not real Chinese food, but everyone thinks it's delicious and treats it as a delicacy. I suddenly wanted to eat authentic Chinese food and adjust my taste buds, so I came to the San Gabriel Valley. Todd, when will you return to Los Angeles? Is it easy for him to maintain a complete family? Li Bo was silent on the phone for a while before replying, didn't your mother tell you? On family day next week, I will go with you to see your grandpa. That's great. The father and son chatted for a while before ending the call. In this case, under Locke's initiative, the relationship between father and son has been significantly eased. Locke has gone through all of Locke Lee's memories during this period. He entered a rebellious period in high school, and his personality became irritable, swearing, and liked to fight. There was a reason for this. After joining the football team, Locke Lee suffered discrimination due to his mixed Chinese identity, which made Locke Lee, who had been taught by Texas rednecks since childhood, feel humiliated. When Locke was young, his grandfather Jester Locke instilled in him the principles of rednecks in dealing with people. When facing the enemy, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, therefore, Locke Lee had to become dirtier and more evil than others. Soon, he became a veritable quarterback of the football team with his fists. However, Locke's actions to maintain his dignity were completely useless in the eyes of Li Bo, who was born in New China and grew up under the red flag. Because of the discrimination against his Chinese identity, Locke Lee was also somewhat repulsive to his Chinese ancestry at that time, so he did not communicate deeply with Li Bo, and the father and son had a rift. After eating and drinking, Locke left the Sichuan restaurant with a satisfied look on his face. Chinese food in the United States is really expensive. 3 dishes plus service fees cost $120, which is really unaffordable for ordinary people. 15 minutes later, Locke parked the car in a shopping mall parking lot and chose a corner without cameras. He came to the back seat of the car and began to tinker with the things he bought before. First of all, the medicine. He bought more than a dozen illegal anesthetic drugs. In fact, there are only 4 that will be used. Soon he prepared 3 special medicines according to the formula of his previous life. Soon he changed into his newly bought work clothes and put on makeup. Putting makeup on corpses is a necessary skill for scavengers. After some operations, Locke's whole body changed drastically, like a different person. He got out of the back seat of the F-150, locked the car, and walked straight to a black Toyota Corolla not far away. The car was slightly dusty. Obviously, the owner had not driven it for a while. With the help of L3 driving skills and L2 unlocking, Locke entered and started the car without a key in less than 15 seconds. Soon, the black Toyota Corolla drove out of the parking lot and headed north to Pasadena, a Mexican community. In the car, Locke was wearing a pair of black-framed glasses. He had completely changed his appearance, as if he had returned to his previous life as a scavenger. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pasadena, one of the largest Mexican communities in Los Angeles, is home to a large number of illegal Mexican immigrants. Locke parked the car at the corner of an intersection, from which he could just see the door of a bar 100 meters away. Despite this, he still carefully reclined the seat and hid himself. In the car, Locke held a monocular bought from a Chinese supermarket and observed the people coming in and out of the bar opposite. The bar was only 5 stories high, with a large neon sign hanging on it. It was dark all around. There were 4 or 5 thugs standing at the door, holding weapons in their hands unscrupulously. The people coming in and out were mainly black and Latino. In the past few days, under David's popular science, Locke had a rough understanding of the entire Los Angeles gangs and drug trafficking organizations. After that, he further studied through the police intranet. After becoming a second-level police officer, he was qualified to log into the Los Angeles Police Department's intranet. Locke's current spiritual attribute is 11 points. He is a real academic master with amazing memory. After studying, he immediately had a more detailed understanding of the gangs and drug trafficking organizations in Los Angeles, the distribution range of the gangs, gang information, and the names and photos of the main leaders are all clearly recorded in his mind, and he can almost remember them like the back of his hand. This information is very important to the LAPD and is closely related to life safety. Locke also took note of the wanted criminals by the Los Angeles Police Department and the FBI, hoping to find a loophole. He has no chance to get the reward from the LAPD, but he can still get the reward from the FBI. although the history of the gangs in Los Angeles is not as long as that of East Coast cities such as New York and Chicago, it has also experienced several generations of changes. From the Gold Rush period to the Prohibition period, the Irish, Italians, and Jews all appeared on the stage and ruled for a period of time. When the mafia was rampant in the United States, Los Angeles also gave birth to a mafia family, that is, the famous Drana family. Jack Drana, the top figure of the Drana family, was even called the Al Capone of Los Angeles. However, with the Battle of Sunset Boulevard with the Cohen family, the Los Angeles Police Department has been keeping a close eye on the Drana family. The Drana family has been getting weaker and weaker with each generation. By the 1990s, there were only 20 family members left. There is no large-scale gang organization with ruling power in Los Angeles now, and the LAPD will never allow such gangs to exist. There are hundreds of criminal gangs of all sizes active in Los Angeles, among which the black gangs, Mexican gangs, and Latin American gangs are the most popular. The main gang crimes in Los Angeles are basically committed by these three gangs. Most of the other minority gangs such as the Vietnamese gang, the Korean gang, and the Russian gang are only active in their own communities. The bar that Locke is watching now belongs to a Mexican gang base. This gang is called Patia, which is a transnational gang organization spanning Mexico and the United States. It has only 200 or 300 people, which is relatively small among Mexican gangs. The headquarters is in Tijuana, Mexico, but Los Angeles is their main market. They are mainly engaged in illegal activities such as drug trafficking, smuggling, organizing prostitution, etc. The leader of this stronghold is called Avidia. He was born a pimp, but he is very good at business. Step by step, he became one of the leaders of the Patia organization in Los Angeles. After a screening, Locke chose Avidia as the first action target because this guy has the lowest force and the lowest risk. This wait lasted for 2 hours, during which he received a call from Marion. Marion asked him why he didn't go home tonight, and Locke replied that he had to repair the car tomorrow morning and could only go home in the afternoon. Marion mentioned that he took the initiative to call his father tonight, saying that his father had just talked to her on the phone and was very pleased to mention this. Finally, he complained about why he only wanted to take his father to a good restaurant and forgot about other family members. Locke naturally didn't dare to say that you all don't like Chinese food. He said a lot of good things and dealt with Marion. After hanging up the phone, Locke couldn't help laughing. It seemed that his family suture was starting to work. The trigger for Lebo and Marion's fierce quarrel half a year ago that led to their separation was not him, but his younger brother Jet Li. Unlike Locke, Jet Li's Chinese genes are more obvious. You can tell at a glance that he is Chinese. He has been smart since he was a child and has always gotten A's, so after he was ruined, his father put all his hopes on his younger brother Jet Li. Jet Li is about to face the choice of a university. Lebo doesn't want all his children to disagree with their Chinese identity, so he proposed that Jet go back to China to go to college, learn about Chinese culture, and return to the United States to continue his studies after getting a master's and doctoral degree. In Marion's view, this idea is simply it was crazy, so the two of them had an unprecedented fierce quarrel, and the contradiction that had been suppressed for more than 10 years also broke out completely, shortly after the quarrel. Lebo applied to go to New York, and the two began to live separately. In fact, Locke knew that this incident was not the main contradiction between Lebo and Marion. Locke found that there was movement at the door of the bar, and hurriedly picked up the telescope to look over. They came out, so early. Locke looked at the time. It was only 10 o'clock in the evening. In the telescope, several people came out of the door of the bar. The leader was Awadia, the Los Angeles leader of the Patia organization, and he was followed by 4 bodyguards. After Awadia chatted with the thugs at the door of the bar, he got on a white BMW 7 Series that was waiting for him, and 2 of the 4 bodyguards also got in a car. Locke immediately started the car, and after the BMW had gone a distance, he turned into the main road slowly. He had studied the map near the bar a long time ago, and when he came, he deliberately took a detour first. And was not afraid of losing it, and he was not afraid of losing him. Tonight was just a rehearsal. He did not expect to achieve his goal in the first action. This was not an organizational mission. He had plenty of time. If the Minotti organization wanted to retaliate against him, it would not be so fast. now he was alone without the assistance of the organization. Any action he took could only succeed and could not fail. Every link had to be foolproof. The BMW did not drive very fast. Locke followed it from a distance. At this time, there were still many cars on the road. He chose this Corolla deliberately and it was not noticeable at all. His tracking did not attract the attention of the BMW at all. After driving for about 5 minutes, the white BMW stopped at the bottom of an apartment building facing the street. Avidia got out of the car and went upstairs. The 2 bodyguards did not follow him. Locke did not dare to stop. He drove the Corolla directly over. He knew of Adia's address. Tonight's goal was achieved. Suddenly, his heart tightened. In the rearview mirror, the white BMW caught up with him. Just when he thought he was discovered by Avadia's bodyguards, the BMW sped past him. What happened? Avadia's bodyguards weren't keeping watch downstairs. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Locke hesitated for a moment, then quickly made a decision, turned around at an intersection, and drove back. This was a rare opportunity. In addition to being cautious, steady, and conservative, his work style also has a hidden characteristic, that is, he is actually good at adapting to circumstances, and he is not a rigid person. Otherwise, he would not have become the longest-lived scavenger in the organization in his previous life, no matter how good the plan is. It is impossible to accurately calculate sudden accidents and rapidly changing variables. Avadia's bodyguards did not keep watch downstairs, which meant that Avadia was alone now. Locke parked the car opposite the apartment building and recalled the lighting of the apartment building when he just passed by. After a while, the lights in 3 rooms changed, 2 turned on, and 1 turned off. Finally, his eyes stopped at a lighted room on the 7th floor. The 7th floor is the top floor. If he were Avadia, he would choose to live here instead of the room on the 3rd floor. The top floor is convenient for escape. After confirming the room where Avadia was, Locke did not act rashly. He waited for another half an hour. After finding nothing unusual, he drove the car to the downstairs of the apartment building. He put on latex gloves and a baseball cap and walked into the apartment building with tools. Apartments in such chaotic areas naturally have no security and cameras. Locke did not take the elevator, but climbed the stairs to the 7th floor. He quickly found Avadia's room according to the direction of the light. After standing at the door and eavesdropping for a while, he could vaguely hear singing coming from the room. He guessed that Avadia should be taking a shower, so he unlocked the door and entered the room directly. It can be said that 90% of the locks in the world are useless under L2's lockpicking skills. In less than 5 seconds, he entered the room. The room is not too big, with 2 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, and a very typical Mexican decoration style. The singing really came from the bathroom. Locke checked whether there were cameras in the room at the first time. After finding none, he checked whether there were other people in the 2 rooms. Usually, small leaders like Avadia who are sent abroad are usually alone in Los Angeles, and their families stay in Mexico. He was doing a job that would cost him his life, so he couldn't leave his family around, and his family was also hostage to the gang. Locke also saw Avadia's family photos in the room. They were a very happy family, all smiling brightly. Locke opened the toolbox, took out a special anesthetic he had prepared, and walked slowly to the door of the bathroom, as if he had returned to his previous life. Scavengers don't just deal with dead things, sometimes they also need to work as killers part-time to deal with living things, kill first and then clean up, one-stop service. After a while, Avadia, wearing dark gold pajamas, came out of the bathroom, still humming a cheerful Mexican song. Before he could react, he was pricked by a needle on the back of his neck. He was about to turn his head, but his eyes went black and he fainted. When Avadia woke up, he found himself lying on the floor of the bathroom, his whole body sore and weak, but through the touch of his fingers, he could feel that there was a large piece of plastic film under him, and his face changed instantly. Avadia, I have something to ask you. I hope you can answer truthfully. The voice came from above, in authentic Mexican Spanish. Avadia's heart trembled, and he wanted to look up at the person who was speaking, but found that he couldn't do it. He was in despair and cried, I admit that I leaked the last transaction to the DEA, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. They forced me to do it. Please tell Jose that I have become an informant of the DEA. I am still useful to the gang. I will make up for the loss as soon as possible. Don't kill me, don't hurt my family. Locke looked at the man who was crying and frightened on the ground expressionlessly. It seems that this guy knows what's good and has realized what will happen next, he frowned. He originally just wanted to get some information about the Menotti organization from Avidia, but he didn't expect to have an unexpected gain. Avidia turned out to be an informant of the DEA, and just cooperated with the DEA to shut down the transaction of his own organization. No wonder he is so guilty. Locke pondered for a moment and asked, "What did the DEA use to force you?" Awadia remained silent, and after a while he begged, "I want to talk to Jose." Locke guessed that this Jose should be the boss of the Pazio organization, but he didn't have the other party's phone number, so what kind of phone call was there? He ignored Awadia, took out another medicine and injected it into his neck. This was a medicine similar to the CIA's truth serum, but with greater side effects. After the injection, in order to lower Awadia's psychological defenses, Locke said coldly, "Awadia, how will you end up? What do you think in your heart? Clearly, if you confess everything, I promise you that your family will be fine." He was telling the truth. Avidia betrayed the organization, and Pazia probably didn't know it yet. When he died, this matter would be taken to hell with him, and his family would naturally not be harmed. Locke asked again, "What did the DEA use to force you?" Avidia felt his heartbeat quicken and he felt dizzy. Hearing that his family would be fine, he relaxed and blurted out, "The DEA found out that I falsified accounts." Listening to Avadia's statement, Locke was speechless. It turned out that this guy had been embezzling money from the Pazio organization by falsifying accounts. Not long ago, the bar's tax issues were targeted by the IRS, U.S. Federal Tax Police, but the IRS had already known that he was a drug dealer through internal information, so they passed this discovery to the DEA. So the DEA used this incident to threaten Avidia and forced him to be an informant for the DEA. Avidia was born a pimp and was very soft-hearted. The DEA used a little trick and he surrendered. The last time he leaked the transaction of his organization to the DEA was his token of loyalty. This guy has embezzled nearly $2 million from the Pazio organization in more than 10 years, but he dared not show it or send it back to Mexico. He hid the money in a safe house. Locke memorized the address of the safe house in his mind and asked, "What is the password of your bedroom safe?" When he checked the room just now, he found a big safe in the bedroom, 9527. Avadia's consciousness had begun to blur, and he answered whatever Locke asked. Locke then asked, "What's in the safe?" Avidia replied intermittently, "This month's turnover, account books, goods, guns, and my watch." Locke saw that this guy was dying, so he hurriedly asked about the purpose of tonight. "Tell me all the information you know about the Menotti organization." Avidia was a little down, and he didn't react for a long time. After a while, he said, "Menotti no longer exists. It was destroyed by Santilli 3 days ago. The backbone of the organization was hung under the viaduct in Tijuana. Only some small Karami joined other gangs." Locke was stunned. He was still thinking that after he figured out the situation of the Menotti organization, he would go to Tijuana once during the next administrative leave to eliminate this trouble. But he didn't expect that the trouble was gone before he started. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Locke had naturally heard of the Santilli organization. This organization was one of the largest drug trafficking organizations in Tijuana, with thousands of members. Patia was no match for them. It was said that Santilli controlled a tunnel on the U.S.-Mexico border and had submarines. They were one of the largest suppliers of drugs to the United States. The Santilli organization was also very powerful in Los Angeles and was a key target of the DEA. Locke asked in confusion, why did Santilli go to war with Menotti? Avidia could no longer organize his words, and Locke listened for a long time before he understood. The general meaning was that after the DEA cleared out Menotti's base in Los Angeles, the newly rising Menotti lost face in Tijuana and became a laughingstock. So the Menotti organization said that it was preparing to organize gunmen to go to Los Angeles to retaliate against the DEA. But he didn't expect that these remarks would anger the public and offend the drug dealers, so Santilli took action. To eliminate them to avoid affecting everyone's business. Damn, the Menotti organization is really going to send people to Los Angeles for revenge. These idiots are simply psychotic. Fortunately they are all dead. Sure enough, any industry must abide by the rules, otherwise, the industry bosses will teach you a lesson. Just think about it and you can guess that if the Menotti organization really retaliates against the LAPD or DEA in Los Angeles, then the drug dealers in Tijuana will suffer the crazy revenge of the DEA and LAPD. All drug trafficking routes will be severely cracked down, and the losses will be in the billions. Those who do not follow the rules will eventually die without a burial place. After knowing that the Menotti organization had been destroyed, Locke straightened up and felt relieved. Seeing that Avidia had closed his eyes and began to twitch, breathing out more than breathing in, he knew that he was almost dead. For drug dealers like Avidia who don't know how many lives they have taken, he never planned to leave them alive from the beginning. Locke was about to check the safe, but suddenly, he squatted down again and asked, Avidia, do you have anything else to tell Jose? Avidia suddenly opened his eyes and said fluently, there is a USB drive under the bed in the guest room. There is a video of the son of Congressman Camilo torturing and killing a prostitute. I helped deal with the prostitute's body. The gang can use this video to threaten Camilo in the future. Give the USB drive to Jose, don't hurt my family. He wanted to raise his hand to grab Locke, but his hand still couldn't move. Locke's face finally couldn't keep calm. Damn, I didn't expect that this guy was not only involved with the DEA, but also involved a congressman. He knew that Avidia was now in his last moments, so he replied, don't worry, your family will be fine. Locke found the USB drive under the bed in the guest room. His expression was a little gloomy. Although he didn't know who Congressman Camilo was, he knew the power of a Los Angeles congressman. He put away the USB drive and went into the master bedroom again. He observed the safe. It was not very sophisticated. He was too lazy to think about it, so he just used the password provided by Avidia to open the safe. The things inside were exactly as Avidia said. In addition to dozens of US dollars, there were also several bags of flour, 3 pistols, a disassembled automatic rifle, some spare magazines and bullets, and several gold watches and jewelry. Locke made a decision quickly, and closed the door of the safe without hesitation and locked it again. The things in the safe, whether it was money, jewelry, or the 3 custom-made pistols, were all very attractive, but none of them could be touched. As long as he moved, his existence would be exposed. Although Locke was confident that ordinary people could not find him, but as long as someone was tracking him, there would be a risk of being exposed. This risk was not worth it and there was no need to take it. He was never a greedy person. Since the Menotti organization was gone, he did not need to continue to find other Mexican gangs to inquire about the situation. The scavenger would not need to appear in the short term. He initially planned to make Avadia's death a gang vendetta, but he did not expect that Avidia would actually involve the DEA and the congressman, so he had to change his plan. Locke will erase all traces of him tonight and let Avidia die in an accident. He retreated to the living room, scanned it, and he walked straight to a cabinet, opened the drawer, and saw the flour in small packages. Avidia was a drug addict, so this death was the best way for him. Drug trafficking harms people, and finally dying from drugs. This is the best fate for drug dealers. Locke took out a bag of flour and poured it on the coffee table, where Avidia usually eats. He went back to the bathroom, dragged Avidia, who was still breathing weakly, to the living room and put him on the sofa. Locke hooked Avidia's neck, put his face close to the coffee table, and covered his mouth and nose with his hands. When he couldn't stand it anymore, he let go of his nose, and the flour on the table disappeared instantly. This operation was repeated 3 times, and Avidia gradually became silent. Locke stood beside Avidia's body, his expression unchanged, and he slowly changed a pair of gloves for himself. After waiting for a while, the panel appeared as expected. Light of Justice, Police System 2.0, Host, Rock Lee, Level, 1. Strength, 9, Human Peak 20, Speed, 10, Human Peak 20, Endurance, 9, Human Peak 20. Spirit, 11, Human Peak 20, Skills Mastered, Pistol, L3 Master, Rifle, L2 Master, Mixed Martial Arts, L3 Master, Driving, L3 Master, Chinese, L3 Master, Rugby, L2 Master, Mating, L3 Master, Swimming, L3 Master, Housekeeping, L3 Master, Traceology, L3 Master, Makeup, L3 Master, Forensic Medicine, L3 Master, Sketching, L3 Master, Micro-Expression Analysis, L2 Master, Chemistry, L2 Master, Biology, L2 Master, Toxicology, L2 Master, French, L2 Master, equals Proficient, Japanese, L2. Proficient, Art Appreciation, L2 Proficient, Computer, L2 Proficient, Cooking, L2 Proficient, Lock Picking, L2 Proficient, Spanish, L1 Proficient, Justice Value, 1250, plus 700, Attribute Points, None, Cards, Experience Cards, Function Cards, Bullet Avoidance Card, Detection Card, Learning Cards, Lip Reading, 5 years of experience, Psychological Profile. 5 years of experience. Locke originally planned to deal with this reward after leaving, but after looking at the panel 3 times, he was a little dumbfounded. In addition to the increase of 700 justice value, the system did not have any other rewards this time, but 700 justice value is enough to show that avidya is a sinful garbage. After Locke calmed down, he realized that not everyone can reward experience cards. Those who can explode experience cards must be talented or outstanding in some aspects. Obviously, avidya should be a mediocre person with no talent and no skills. Damn, he is not even as good as the 2 Karamis who transported goods from the Minotti organization. Locke sighed in disappointment and looked at the corpse on the sofa with contempt. What a waste. The justice value is already 1250, what is the use of this thing? Locke thought so in his heart, and the panel actually changed. The justice value became 250, minus 1000, and the attribute point became 1, wow. It turns out that the justice value can be exchanged for attributes. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A bold idea suddenly popped up in Locke's mind. If he killed all the drug dealers in Los Angeles, wouldn't he be able to max out all 4 attributes soon? Well, although this idea is wonderful, it is very difficult to implement. The reason why he chose avidya this time is because he thinks he is weak. But which drug dealer didn't come out of the hail of bullets, and there will be no shortage of bodyguards around him, so it is not so easy to kill. Although he looks very strong now, there is no need to take this risk, and he is not in a hurry to become stronger. Locke exhaled a breath of turbid air and suppressed this idea. He cherished the normal life of living in the sun and accompanied by his family. After calming down, Locke added the attribute points he had just obtained to strength. His whole body bones instantly felt numb, and he could clearly feel his muscles tightening, and his heartbeat became stronger, as if a turbine was added. This feeling is completely different from the last time he added attribute points to speed. Last time he felt light, but now he feels that his body has become solid. This feeling did not last long and disappeared quickly. Locke pinched his chest muscles and found that they became smaller but tighter. He threw another punch with more power. He suddenly had an idea. If he had the physique he had now in college, he should be able to continue to be the quarterback of the football team, just by adding 1 attribute point to strength and speed respectively. His physical fitness is comparable to the top black athletes. This shows how magical this system is. He forgot that the spirit has 4 attribute points from fusion. If the spirit is only 7, he should not be able to be a quarterback. The black quarterbacks on the football field are definitely the best among blacks in terms of IQ, and they are not worse than other races. Locke took a deep breath, suppressed the distracting thoughts in his heart, and started the cleaning work he was best at. In less than 15 minutes, all traces of him in this room were removed. He also used a potion to treat the needle hole on the back of Avidya's neck. When he gave the injection, he also deliberately hid the needle hole under his hair. Locke was very confident about this. Even if Avidya's body was dissected, it would be difficult for ordinary forensic doctors to find the 2 pinholes under the hair, unless they met a first-class forensic doctor. The result of the autopsy must be sudden cardiac death caused by excessive inhalation of flour. His operation can ensure that there are flour residues in Avidya's nasal cavity and respiratory tract, which is completely different from what was poured in after death. As for the medicine injected into Avidya's body, it is his secret formula. With the dosage he injected, it will be completely dissolved in more than 12 hours. However, Locke is very sure that Avidya will not be dissected with a high probability. because his men will not call the police. Gang affairs will not let the police intervene unless it is absolutely necessary. What's more, as long as a discerning person sees Evadia's body, he will know how he died. Only a fool would call the police. 20 minutes later, Locke went downstairs with the toolbox. After observing that there were no pedestrians on the roadside, he immediately rushed out of the apartment building, got into the car quickly, and drove away quickly. After leaving Pasadena, they deliberately made a big circle. After not finding anything unusual, they drove towards San Gabriel Valley. In the parking lot, Locke cleaned up the Toyota Corolla, returned to the back seat of the F-150, changed his clothes, and dealt with the work clothes he had just worn. In the driver's seat, Locke reviewed tonight's actions and found that he thought things were too simple. A weak Evadia had such a complicated relationship, not to mention other drug dealers. With the blessing of the system, he is indeed far superior to ordinary people, but he is still a human after all, not a Superman, and has no superpowers. If you are not careful, you will expose yourself. Tonight was an accident. Fortunately, Evadia was alone. If there were bodyguards guarding downstairs, it would be basically impossible to do it so quietly. If the bodyguards were killed together, the risk of exposure would increase. It is indeed different for a person to act alone and with the assistance of an organization. However, tonight was also a great harvest. I learned that the Menotti organization had been destroyed and the hidden dangers of my family had been eliminated. I also got a windfall and a video of a congressman involved. I don't know if I will have the chance to use it. Of course, the biggest gain was that the natural justice value reached 1,000, which was exchanged for an attribute point. In this way, Evadia, this trash, is not completely useless. However, Locke felt that he had done a good thing. If Evadia didn't die, who knows how many evil things he would have done. If he died, he could still save his family. If Evadia is still alive, he might thank him. After all, it is not easy to be a DEA informant. Sooner or later, he will be exposed. Once exposed, if he went home, he would have to go with him. Now he just had to die. Half an hour later, the F-150 drove out of the parking lot. After returning to his original outfit, Locke felt relaxed. Working as a scavenger, he had to concentrate and be nervous, fearing that there would be any mistakes. When passing by a burning oil barrel, Locke pressed the car window, threw the changed work clothes in, and smashed the half-used alcohol tablets into it, and the flames burst instantly. He watched the oil barrel burn for a while before leaving with peace of mind. After leaving the San Gabriel Valley, Locke did not plan to go home, but drove towards the safe house mentioned by Evadia. Evadia's death will be exposed tomorrow morning, so in order to avoid more trouble, he plans to take away the money that Evadia embezzled tonight. Compton. Locke stopped at the apartment where Evadia's safe house was located and observed for more than 10 minutes, and circled twice to confirm that. The only way to enter the building was through the main entrance. Evadia was able to embezzle more than $2 million from the organization. He is indeed a cautious person. Who would have thought that he would set up a safe house in Compton in the South, and in a high-end apartment? Through the observation just now, Locke found that a door card was required to enter the apartment. There was a black security guard on duty on the first floor, and there were also cameras. However, it seems that as long as there is a door card, the security will not ask anyone who enters. Half an hour later, Locke came back here again. He parked the car far away. He changed his clothes again, wearing a suit and leather shoes, black framed glasses, myopic glasses, his pupils turned black, and a golden wig on his head. He held an alcohol cotton in his mouth, his facial contours changed, and his nose bridge was raised. Even if David was in front of him, he might not be able to bear him. There is no way. A simple change of clothes can't avoid the camera. Locke stood on the side of the apartment building and waited for 10 minutes. Then a young man and woman came over. The woman was swinging a key chain in her hand, on which was the access card of the apartment building. Locke's eyes lit up, and he was really in luck, because the man and woman were wearing the uniforms of the NFL Los Angeles Rams. He hurried over and greeted the young man in a familiar way. Hey, the Rams had a good game against the Yankees this week. Although they lost, the guys tried their best. The strangers looked at Locke in surprise, and he said to himself, Thompson will definitely lead the Dodgers to go further. I heard that Coach Spencer is going to give him weight. Speaking of football, Locke is naturally the most professional. The Los Angeles Rams was once his goal, and he is very familiar with this team. The man was immediately attracted by Locke's words. Really? That's great. Thompson does need to gain weight, his impact is not enough, but after waiting, the speed, ding, the woman brushed the door, and the three walked into the apartment one by one. The black guard was attracted by the black girl twisting her fat buttocks on TikTok, and didn't even look at them. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Locke was woken up by a phone call. If the female voice on the other end of the phone was not very sweet, he would have almost cursed. Fuck, he suppressed his irritation when he got up and checked the time. It was already 10 o'clock, the call was from the repair shop. He had an appointment to go to the repair shop this morning, but he overslept and missed the agreed time. He apologized to the other party and said he would be late. After hanging up the phone, Locke yawned and got out of bed. He returned to Gran apartment at about 4 o'clock last night. In that safe house, Awadia was very attentive. The door of the room was replaced with a metal anti-theft door, and the door lock was also used very well. It took him 30 seconds to get in. The safe house was not big, just a single room, but the items prepared inside were very complete. Awadia should be ready to run away at any time. In addition to basic daily necessities and medicines, he also prepared guns and passports of several Latin American countries, car keys, and even a rappelling rope by the window. All the money was also put into a travel bag, ready to be taken away at any time, and was not placed in the safe. There is really no point in putting a safe in the safe house. If the safe house is broken into, the safe is useless. It was just convenient for him. After Locke checked that there was no trouble, he left with the travel bag. The black security guard at the door was still immersed in his plump breasts and buttocks, and never looked up at him from beginning to end. However, his figure was still captured by the camera, and this look must not be used again in the future. In fact, Locke was almost tempted at the time. He hesitated for a while, thinking that since Awadia was dead, should he use this safe house for himself, but he threw this stupid idea out of his mind in an instant. For those who need to arrange a safe house, the safe house must be foolproof, and usually they do it themselves. In the last life, in order to leave the organization, he deliberately arranged 3 safe houses in different countries, but unfortunately none of them were used in the end. After washing up, Locke opened the closet and picked a t-shirt and jeans at random. When closing the door, his eyes stayed on the black luggage bag in the closet for a moment, thought for a while, and took out the luggage bag, $2.35 million, weighing about 30 kilograms. Locke held it in one hand, and felt very relaxed. He couldn't do it so easily before. Unzipping the zipper, there were bundles of US dollars inside, 100,000 per bundle, all wrapped in plastic wrap. He had opened several packages and checked them last night. They were all non-consecutive numbers and there were no marks. Although Locke's family also belongs to the wealthy class, it was the first time he saw so much cash, but he was not too excited when facing such a large sum of money. Whether in the past or in the future, he didn't need to worry about money. This money is just a number to him. However, it is not a long-term solution to keep this money here. Although the security of Gran Apartments has always been good, it has also been stolen. Locke hesitated whether to take the money back to his home in Beverly Hills. The security there is naturally incomparable to this side. After hesitating again and again, he finally gave up the idea. Trouble and risk can never be brought home. It seems that I have to speed up the construction of my own safe house. At 11 o'clock, Locke came to the scheduled repair shop according to the navigation. This repair shop was found by him on the internet and was rated as one of the best modification shops in Los Angeles, but when he arrived at the place, Locke was a little dumbfounded and felt cheated. Is it no wonder that the United States also has good reviews? Rather than saying that this is a repair shop, it is better to say that it is an abandoned vehicle dismantling plant. This repair shop is indeed very large, about the size of a football field, and is full of dismantled parts of various models of cars. There are rust everywhere, as if you are in the desolation of doomsday. Has this repair shop gone bankrupt? Who is the woman who called him in the morning? Locke did not leave immediately, but got off the car to check it out. It seems that it has not gone bankrupt. In the spacious repair shop next to it, there are 3 cars parked on the lift, but there is no one. He looked up and saw that the office on the second floor was lit, so there should be someone. Seeing this desolate scene, Locke no longer planned to go up to ask and was ready to leave. At this time, the window on the second floor was opened, and a brown-haired girl half stuck out. What came into view was a delicate and sweet face, clear eyes, sexy lips, half of the plump breasts and that deep ravine. The woman waved enthusiastically to Locke, and her chest trembled suddenly. She waved and asked, "Is it Locke?" "Lee." "Yes." Locke was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there would be such a beautiful woman in this shabby place. He had already heard that the girl who called him in the morning should be this girl. He looked away reluctantly and asked, "Is this Mendez repair shop?" "Yes, of course, please wait a moment." The girl looked a little excited, and her body disappeared from the window in an instant, and soon appeared at the stairs, running towards Locke quickly. The girl seemed young, wearing a white vest and washed jeans. She ran like an undulating wave, full of youthfulness. Her light copper skin made her look sunny and healthy, very pleasing to the eye. She was tall and slender, estimated to be over 1.7 meters, but she didn't look thin. She was big in the right places, a typical thin branch with big fruits. Jessica Alba. The girl stopped in front of Locke, holding her chest. She found Locke so handsome and tall. She became shy, but she still took the initiative to extend her hand. "Sarah Mendez, Mr. Lee, I'm glad you came." Locke gently shook the girl's hand and let go, apologetically saying, "Just call me Locke. I'm sorry for being late. It's a rare day off. I was too happy last night." Sarah Mendez's cheeks were a little red, and she looked at the F-150 next to her. "Is this the car that needs to be upgraded?" "Cool, we're talking here." She pointed to the office on the second floor. "Let's go to the office upstairs, where there's air conditioning and water." Locke was not dazzled by the beauty. He looked at the empty repair shop next to him and asked, "Ms. Mendez, can you still operate normally?" "Of course, you can call me Sarah." Sarah Mendez looked a little nervous and quickly explained, "Victor and the others went out for roadside assistance and will be back soon. Sorry, we don't have many employees in our store." Locke reluctantly accepted this explanation and motioned for Sarah to lead the way. Sarah was relieved and walked towards the stairs with a graceful step. Her steps were light, and each step was as graceful as dancing tango. Locke was embarrassed. Sarah was so beautiful and enthusiastic, but if the technology here didn't meet his requirements, how should he speak? The office on the second floor was converted from a container, so the stairs were a little steep. Locke only took 2 steps and found something wrong. Sarah's hips almost hit his face. He had to stop and let the other person go up first. Sarah also realized this problem. She even felt Locke's breath just now, and her cheeks were a little red. She hurriedly quickened her pace. After going upstairs, she turned her head and saw that Locke was standing there without moving. She immediately liked his gentlemanly behavior. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The office on the second floor is not big, but it is completely different from the dilapidated outside. It is clean and tidy, and there are many trophies, photos, and car models on the wall. While Sarah went to the refrigerator to get water, Locke looked at the photos on the wall and found many well-known racing drivers, including the racing god Schumacher. The person who took a photo with the racing driver was a middle-aged Latin American with gray hair, and there were some photos of him winning awards in the modification competition. Locke had already guessed who this person was. It seemed that the comments on the internet were not fake. "This is my father, Edmund Mendez. He opened this car repair shop, but he has been dead for 2 years." Sarah came over and handed the water in her hand to Locke. I'm sorry." Locke took the water and said thank you again. Sarah shrugged and smiled. "It's over. My brother Victor and I inherited the repair shop. But you can see that we made a mess of it." Locke breathed a sigh of relief. It was obvious that the heir's ability was limited, so he ruined the most powerful repair shop in Los Angeles in less than 2 years. As a car driver, Locke has high requirements for cars and naturally doesn't want to take risks. Although Sarah is very beautiful, he is still ready to leave. Beep. Beep. Locke was about to speak when the sound of a car horn came from downstairs. It should be Victor and the others who are back. Sarah immediately stood up and ran to the stairs excitedly. She thought it was impolite to leave Locke alone here, so she suddenly stopped. but she didn't expect that her breasts were too big, her center of gravity was unstable, and she lost her balance instantly. Sarah was frightened and panicked, and she was about to fall down the stairs. A strong and powerful arm suddenly appeared in front of her chest and hooked her. "Are you okay?" Locke panted, a little bit unbelievable. This was the first time he felt his reaction ability and agility after speed increase. The place where he stood just now was 5 meters away from the stairs. His explosive power was definitely not so fast before. Sarah held Locke's hand and stood still, with a face still in shock. She turned her head to look at Locke's handsome face, and couldn't help but feel a little lost. "Thank you, you saved me, otherwise, Sarah, who is this raptor?" A tall and strong Hispanic young man appeared at the stairs. When he looked up, he saw his sister being hugged by a strange man. "What is the fucking, take your dirty hands away, bastard, you are dead." 5 minutes later, Locke sat on the wide sofa, looking at the messy office, speechless. Opposite him, Sarah was applying medicine to her brother Victor Mendez. The other party's arms and face were scratched to varying degrees. Behind them stood a sturdy young black man, holding a large wrench in his hand, staring at him angrily. Locke's gaze finally returned to Sarah Mendez. This woman's arrogance just now also scared him. It was too scary. Fortunately, Hannah only used words to squeeze him. Victor Mendez was burly and strong, probably more than 1.9 meters tall, with a buzz cut, an unruly face, and tattoos on his neck, which looked very social. Although he was being rubbed with medicine, he still looked angry, staring at Locke with his eyes, as if this matter was not over. Just when Sarah was about to fall to the stairs, Locke burst out with full force, rushed over in one step, and stretched out his hand to hook her. At this time, Victor Mendez suddenly appeared, thinking that Locke was molesting his sister, and stepped up in 2 steps, rushing towards Locke like an angry brown bear. Although Victor Mendez was more burly and strong than Locke, Locke's physical fitness was no longer the same as before. Mixed martial arts has been upgraded to the L3 master level. Victor, the angry brown bear, is like a teddy bear in front of him. Locke was knocked down 3 times in a row, but he didn't get hurt at all. However, Victor became more and more courageous, and Locke was almost out of strength. Fortunately, Sarah Mendez stood between the two of them and scolded Victor, which calmed him down and prevented him from being further hurt. Sarah's pretty face was full of frost. She put away the medicine box, turned around and saw the wrench in Ryder's hand, and scolded, "Why are you still holding this damn wrench?" Although Ryder is big and strong, he was scolded by her like a mouse seeing a cat, and immediately threw the wrench on the ground. After putting the medicine box away, Sarah immediately saw Locke staring at her in disbelief. Her face was hot, and she felt very embarrassed. She took a deep breath and apologized to Locke. "Mr. Lee, I'm sorry, I apologize to you on behalf of Victor. He has always been so impulsive and does things without thinking." Victor Mendez stared at Locke fiercely, dissatisfied. "It was this pretty boy who beat me up, why should I apologize to him?" "Shut up." Sarah turned her head and stared at her brother coldly. She couldn't help but scold, "Do you know what happened just now? He rushed up and beat people without asking anything." Victor snorted coldly, "Isn't it just that he wants to take advantage of you? Sarah, don't be fascinated by him just because he is handsome. He just wants to sleep with you." Okay, I won't say anything." "I shut up." Sarah was so angry at her brother's words that she trembled and said coldly, "When I went downstairs just now, I didn't stand firmly and almost rolled down the stairs. It was Locke who saved me." Victor was confused. "So, his hand on your chest just now was to save you?" His face turned pale and blue, and he immediately stood up and bowed to Locke, saying seriously, "I'm sorry, thank you for saving Sarah." A strange color flashed in Locke's eyes, and he shrugged and replied, "It's okay, anyway, I'm not injured. If you need to go to the hospital, you can send the bill to me later." He can see that Victor has a mental problem and is a sister con. No wonder this repair shop is ruined. Victor scratched his hair and grinned. Why go to the hospital for such a small injury? "Don't worry, I'm fine. Fortunately, I didn't hurt you just now, otherwise, I would be a villain who repays kindness with enmity." After hearing what Victor said, Locke changed his mind a little, but he didn't plan to stay for long. He stood up and asked Sarah Mendez, "Ms. Mendez, can I leave?" Sarah's face froze. She understood what Locke meant, and said ashamedly, "Of course." Locke smiled apologetically at the brother and sister, and walked towards the door, regretting that he should have consulted David directly earlier. "This old bird must know where there is a good car repair shop." After Locke went downstairs and left, Victor grinned and rubbed his arm, raised his head and asked his sister, "I haven't asked you why you came here, little white face." "What else can I do?" "Of course I came here to repair the car." "Victor, you messed up again," Sarah said angrily, tears flowing out uncontrollably. "Why are you like this every time? Look at what you have done. I finally invited a customer, and you, an idiot, drove him away. This is Edmund's hard work. Do you really want to destroy it?" "Why, woo-woo." Victor was at a loss when he saw Sarah crying, and turned to look at his brother Ryder beside him. Ryder always listened to Victor, but this time he woke up and pointed downstairs. Victor reacted immediately and ran to the stairs. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The office was rebuilt from a container, so Locke naturally heard Sarah's accusations against Victor, but he didn't take it to heart. Although he sympathized, he couldn't possibly use his car as a favor. His relationship with his younger siblings was also very tense, so he didn't have the mood to worry about others, but when he heard Sarah crying, his steps slowed down a little, and he felt a little empathetic. When Locke Lee had a fight at school, did Jet and Hannah feel helpless and hate their brother like Sarah? Thinking of meeting Jet and Hannah again tonight, Locke couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He started the car, turned around, and when he was about to leave, he saw Victor chasing him in the rearview mirror. Locke hesitated, took his foot off the accelerator, pressed the window, and asked, "Anything else?" Victor looked embarrassed and said sincerely, "I want to solemnly apologize to you for my recklessness just now." Locke guessed Victor's intention to catch up and said calmly, "You have already apologized." Victor clenched his fists and said seriously, "I hope you can give me another chance." Locke raised his eyebrows and asked, "Can you tell me the reason?" Victor said ashamedly, "Sarah cried. I promised Edmund to take good care of her, but obviously, I messed up everything. The last time she cried was at Edmund's funeral. She is my only family now. I can't let her down. You are her client, family." These two words touched Locke and decided to give Victor another chance. He nodded and said, "Okay, then I can give you another chance, but you know I'm here to repair the car. If your skills don't meet my requirements." At this time, Sarah, who was afraid that Victor would conflict with Locke again, also chased out. She said anxiously, "Victor, don't mess around." Victor signaled to his sister that it was okay, and then walked around the car twice with a serious face, and signaled Locke to open the hood. 3 minutes later, Victor returned to Locke and said confidently, "The power is not smooth enough, there is noise in the exhaust, the brake pads need to be replaced, and I need to drive for other problems." Locke looked at him in surprise. He didn't expect that this guy was actually a real talent. Why did the repair shop become like this? Well, when I thought of his temper, I was immediately relieved. Locke turned off the car, got out of the car, and threw the key to Victor. "You got it, and I'll give it to you next. I want to pick up the car as soon as possible." Yes. Victor waved his fist vigorously and shook the key in his hand happily to his sister. Sarah also looked at Locke gratefully. "Please rest assured, Victor's skills are also recognized by Edmund. He just has a bad temper. His skills are really good." Locke took out a piece of paper from his pocket, on which he listed the parts that needed to be repaired and upgraded, and handed the paper to Victor. The novel was taken from the Rawlers website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Victor was shocked when he saw the content on the paper. The problems he just mentioned were all written on this paper. Locke ignored Victor's shock and pointed at the F-150 and said, "In addition to the engine problems you just mentioned, I want to replace the shock absorbers, tires, brakes, and wheels of the whole car to improve the comfort of the car. Also, please clean up the decals on the car body. This car is covered with fancy decals, and he prefers the car to be clean." Victor hesitated and said, "This is a lot of money." Locke had just made a windfall, so how could he be short of money? He smiled and said, "Money is not a problem. By the way, can you make the car bulletproof? Civilian grade is fine. Also, here in the trunk, if possible, please modify a pull-out rifle cabinet. I want a refrigerator on the other side, that he cherishes his life very much. If it weren't for the system's requirements, he wouldn't even want to be a policeman. Victor smiled immediately, as if he saw the money falling from the sky. Don't worry, as long as the money is enough, you can ask me to install Patriot missiles, I can get it for you. After confirming the places that need to be repaired, upgraded, and modified, Locke signed a contract with Victor and agreed to pick up the car in a week. However, because the price of bulletproof glass and steel plates needs to be verified, the final modification fee has not been determined. When all the fees are out, Locke needs to pay a 50% advance payment. When leaving, Locke originally planned to call an Uber, but Sarah Mendez insisted on driving him. Victor tried to stop her, saying, "Let me take you there." Sarah glanced at her brother coldly. "I want to go out for a drive, can't I just give Locke a ride?" Victor knew his sister was still angry with him, so he had to compromise. While Sarah was getting the car from the garage, he warned Locke, "Although you gave me a big business, but if you dare to have any idea about my sister, don't blame me for being rude to you." Locke was speechless. Did this guy forget that the wound on his forehead was not healed yet? After a while, Sarah drove an orange-red Dodge Challenger. From the roar of the engine, it was known that it had been deeply modified, with a stroke, a turbine, and nitrogen installed. She pressed the window and smiled at Locke. "Get in the car." After a roar, the orange-red color instantly disappeared into the car graveyard. Victor stared at the direction where the Challenger disappeared, feeling lost. The big black guy rider next to him suddenly said, "Is Sarah not interested in some pretty boy?" Victor's face suddenly changed, and he cursed, "If you can't speak, just shut up." That he stared at the F-150 fiercely, and gritted his teeth and said, "Put the car on the rack and check it carefully again. It's not easy for a rich man to come. Our service must be worthy of the price he offers." The Dodge Challenger was speeding on the road. Locke tightly grasped the handrail on the door frame. It turned out that driving a fast car by yourself and riding in someone else's fast car felt completely different. No wonder David reacted so strongly last time. No one is willing to put their safety in the hands of others. Locke looked sideways at Sarah Mendez and found that Sarah showed another side of her when driving. At this moment, she showed concentration and calmness beyond her age, and her eyes were shining with confidence and unruly light. It must be said that this girl is very charming. Sometimes she is as sweet as a girl next door, and sometimes she is a furious female demon, scaring the two strong men so that they dare not speak. The scene has become a wild and unruly female driver again. Locke asked, "Do you like driving?" "Of course, I grew up on a racetrack," Sarah blurted out. She turned her head to look at Locke, noticed his abnormality, and quickly turned the paddle to downshift, and the car slowed down immediately. She apologized, "I'm sorry, I scared you. When I'm in a bad mood, I like to drive fast and I get immersed in speed unconsciously." Locke let go of her hand and asked again, "Do you feel tired having a brother like Victor?" Sarah frowned, and instantly became a little colder, and replied, "Victor is kind and enthusiastic, and has an amazing talent for machinery. I love him very much. He is my only family. Don't misunderstand him because of what happened today. He just cares too much about me." "Well, he hasn't learned to control his emotions." Locke realized that his question was a bit offensive, and explained, "Don't get me wrong, I don't mean anything else, it's just that I used to be a complete bastard, which caused my brother and sister to have a deep estrangement with me. I have always wanted to ease the relationship with them, but I don't know how to do it." Sarah was stunned for a moment, her expression eased a little, and she shook her head and replied, "Sorry, I can't help you. Every family is different, but as long as you love your family, I believe they will accept you." Thank you." Locke showed a thoughtful look, as if he really understood something. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The problem between Locke and his younger brother Jet Li is more serious. They don't like each other. Jet Li is a person with high IQ and low EQ. He looks down on his poor brother who often fights and swears. He regards his promiscuous behavior as a family shame. He is ashamed to associate with him and disdains to communicate. In Locke Li's eyes, his younger brother Jet Li is a typical Chinese nerd and a freak, the two also had a physical conflict, and Jet Li was naturally suppressed in an instant. Although the brothers shook hands and made peace under the strong intervention of Marian and Li Bo, they have treated each other as heirs since then and have hardly communicated. Locke's relationship with his sister Hannah Lee is relatively better, but it is just average. Under the influence of the internet, Hannah is relatively precocious and smart, and feminist thinking has begun to sprout. She disagrees with Locke's frequent girlfriend changes, thinking that he does not respect women, and that his fighting and swearing behavior is vulgar. Naturally, Locke Lee also felt that his sister had no right to dictate his lifestyle, and he hated the so-called feminist thinking from the bottom of his heart. Locke has been having a headache these days about how to ease the relationship with his younger brother and sister, because he really has no experience. Sarah Mendez's words just now were very inspiring to him. Instead of deliberately trying to please, it is better to be yourself. Soon they arrived at Beverly Hills. Locke did not let Sarah take him directly to the door of his house, but got off at the Beverly Shopping Center. He could not expose his home address to someone he just met, even though Sarah Mendez was a rare beauty who looked a bit like Hollywood actress Jessica Alba. He had no idea about her. Besides, he had realized that the Mendez brothers and sisters should not be as simple as they seemed. After watching Sarah Mendez leave, Locke called another Uber and arrived home in less than 5 minutes. When he got home, he found that Marian, Jet and Hannah were not at home, and then he realized that today was Friday. Locke looked at the empty house and felt that he should do something. At 5 p.m., Marian walked into the entrance hall with a shopping bag, and said loudly while changing her shoes, "Hannah, is Locke back? You must be hungry. Wait a minute, dinner will be ready soon." What's that smell? It smells so good." When she walked into the living room, she immediately saw Jet and Hannah sitting at the dining table and chewing something. She subconsciously thought that Li Bo had returned. She raised her eyes and looked towards the kitchen. She was stunned. She actually saw Locke busy in the kitchen. "This is unbelievable." Marian asked, "What are you eating? It smells so good." Jet. Li also has black hair, but his face is much more handsome than Locke. You can tell at a glance that he is of Chinese descent, and his Chinese genes are more obvious. He put down the ribs in his hand and said embarrassedly, "I just want to see if I can eat it." Hannah Lee has brown hair and the same face as Locke, but with more white blood. She waved the ribs in her hand. "Marianne, go check on Locke. I suspect he was abducted by aliens. He can actually cook, and it's pretty good." Locke in the kitchen naturally noticed that Marianne had returned home. He turned around and looked over, revealing the mottled flour marks on his black apron. He asked for help. "Marianne, come quickly." Marina put the food she bought on the table, and took another look at the fried ribs on the table. She found that the colors were different, and she couldn't help but smile, and then she walked slowly to the kitchen. She stood by the refrigerator, looking at the messy kitchen, and joked, "Wow, our kitchen has become Ukraine." Locke looked a little embarrassed, and said with a wry smile, "Sorry, I wanted to give you a surprise, but I messed it up. I didn't expect cooking to be so difficult. I prepared 3 dishes, 1 garlic fried pork ribs, which I learned in the Chinese restaurant last night, and pasta. The noodles are already cooked, and only the meat sauce is missing. Now I'm making dry fried tuna." That as he said, he handed the clip in his hand to Marian. "Mary, the rest is up to you, I have to wash it." But Marian took a step back, shook her head and smiled. "No, I just want to be a diner who enjoys your food tonight. I'll go change clothes first." Locke looked helpless and had to turn around to continue to look after the tuna sizzling in the pot, but a faint smile overflowed from the corner of his mouth. The reason why the kitchen was a mess and why he acted so embarrassed was naturally that he wanted to hide his incompetence. His cooking skills are at least L2 level, but if he really cooked a large table of delicious food, even Marian would probably suspect that he was possessed by aliens. The flour coating the garlic-flavored fried pork ribs was fried to different shades, which was naturally caused by uneven heating time. This is the most common mistake made by novices. Spaghetti is a semi-finished product. After the noodles are cooked, just add the meat sauce and stir. Hannah can make it. Marianne often makes this dry-fried tuna. 10 minutes later, the family of 4 sat at the dining table, but the middle seat was vacated. which was Li Bo's seat. Locke had changed his clothes and sat on one side with Marianne, while Jet and Hannah sat on the other side. Marianne opened a bottle of red wine, but only she and Locke drank it. Jet and Hannah, two minors, could only drink juice. She said with a look of relief, "Oh my God, I can't believe that Locke can actually cook, but it's a pity that your father is not here." Locke looked nervous and asked Jet and Hannah, "How did you feel about the fried pork ribs just now? Is it edible?" Jet didn't want to answer at first, but he was grateful for the food he had eaten, so he replied coolly, "It's so-so, but it's still not as good as the Chinese food my father makes." Hannah smiled and replied, "I like the taste." She hesitated for a moment, tilted her head and said, "Locke, this is so surprising, I like you better now." "Well, I wonder if you kill 2 more drug dealers, will it be better?" Hannah. "Lee, shut up." Hannah's outspokenness was scolded by Marian, and after being scolded, she pursed her lips and looked indifferent. Seeing that Jet was also looking at Locke thoughtfully, Marian warned him sternly, "Don't mention this again in the future. Now have a good dinner." Marian raised her glass, "Let's toast to Locke and thank him for his dinner." Locke, Jet, and Hannah also raised their glasses, and the 4 of them clinked their glasses happily and began to enjoy dinner. Although the garlic fried spareribs had flaws in appearance, the taste was fine. The staple food was pasta, which was even more fine. He deliberately made the dry-fried tuna a little salty, but it didn't affect the taste. The family of 4 had dinner happily, and Marian called Li Bo in the middle of the meal. Li Bo couldn't believe it when he heard that Locke made dinner tonight, and said he was sorry to miss this dinner. Locke hurriedly said that he would make it again when he came back. After hanging up the phone, Marian clinked glasses with Locke and said seriously, "Locke, thank you for everything you have done for this family. Your father and I are proud of your growth. We are ready to seriously reflect on our problems and will not let you, Jet, and Hannah down." Locke felt relieved instantly. It seemed that both parents were hopeful. He said seriously, "Marian, we are family. I hope we can be together forever." Marian seemed touched and said with emotion, "Yes, we are family, we will be together forever." Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the morning, Locke was awakened by the noise of Jet and Hannah playing downstairs. Thinking of last night's dinner, he couldn't help but smile knowingly. This was a good start. Perhaps it won't be long before he can play with them like this. After washing up, Locke chose a white t-shirt and jeans to put on, and casually grabbed his hair, and then put on hairspray to fix it. Standing in front of the mirror, Locke looked at the handsome guy inside and couldn't help but marveled. There was no way a handsome man would look handsome no matter how he matched. After going downstairs, he saw Marian, Jet, Hannah and others sitting at the dining table to eat breakfast. "Morning, Marian." Locke only greeted Marian. Although he wanted to ease the relationship with his brother and sister, it didn't mean that he would take the initiative to lick them. For now, it's better to keep the previous way of getting along, and the rest will be gradual, and if he suddenly becomes enthusiastic, I believe they will not adapt. Morning. Marian has been accustomed to the cold relationship between brothers and sisters, and she is helpless. However, the family education method of the Locke family is that parents should not interfere too much in the problems between children and let them solve them by themselves, so she can only let it go. She smiled at Locke and said, "I thought you wanted to sleep a little longer, so I didn't let Hannah call you. Do you have any plans today? Do you want to go shopping with me and Hannah?" Locke sat next to Marian, hesitated for a moment, and apologized, "Sorry, I have a date today. I have already made an appointment." He had already made an appointment with Jennifer Grey to date today to deepen their understanding of each other. "No wonder you specially put on hairspray." Marian showed a regretful expression. "Then next time. You haven't gone shopping with me for a long time." Jet and Hannah heard the conversation between Locke and Marian, and looked at each other tacitly, as if to say, "It's over, the familiar Locke is back." Locke saw their actions but ignored them. He skillfully buttered the bread, put bacon and vegetables on it, took a big bite, and asked, "Marianne, what car are you driving today? Can I borrow your car?" "That G55, my car is sent to the repair shop," Marianne said. "You can drive your father's car. This car has not been driven for a long time. You can just drive it out for a walk." The Locke family has a total of 5 cars. In addition to his F-150 Raptor, his fatherly beau has a BMW 760, and Marianne has two cars, a Mercedes-Benz S600 and a Mercedes-Benz G55 AMG. In addition, his younger brother Jeter has a BMW 3 Series GT. After his father went to New York, his BMW 760 was idle. Locke stuffed the remaining roll into his mouth and said vaguely, "Come on, I'm going on a date, not to discuss business. I prefer cars with high seating positions now, with a wider field of vision." He actually wanted to borrow Jet's BMW 3 Series GT. The G55 was too high profile, but there was a high probability that he would be rejected, so he didn't ask and could only choose the G55. If he drove a BMW 760 and a Mercedes-Benz S600 to date Jennifer Grey, he would be embarrassed. Marion shrugged and smiled. "Okay, I wanted to drive the G55 today, but for the sake of last night's dinner, it belongs to you today." "We'll drive your father's car today," Locke said hurriedly. "Thanks, Marion." Marion asked again gossipingly, "Who are you dating today? Have you found a new girlfriend? Is she also a police officer?" "Hey, Marion, you promised not to interfere with my private life," Locke complained dissatisfiedly, but still replied, "No, she is not a cop, and we are in contact. She is a surgeon at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and graduated from Harvard Medical School." Marion was surprised. "Are you serious?" Such an identity can be heard as soon as it is heard that it is not the same kind of girlfriend as before. Locke glanced at Jet and Hannah, who looked like they were eating melons, and smiled. "Of course, I think I've reached the point where I need a stable relationship." Marianne agreed and nodded. "It seems that it's the right decision to let you join the LAPD, Locke. You've really matured, which makes me very happy, and your father should be very happy to hear this." "Locke, I hope your date goes well today." Locke said this deliberately for his family to hear. He wanted them to know that he was determined to end the promiscuous relationship between men and women and start a normal relationship between men and women. After breakfast, Locke drove a black Mercedes-Benz G55 away from home, ready to pick up Jennifer Grey, who lives in Glendale, northeast of Beverly Hills. To be honest, after driving for a while, Locke didn't think the G55 was easier to drive than his F-150 Raptor. The suspension is too stiff, but the field of vision is similar to that of the F-150, both are high and wide. The tuning and road feel of the two cars are also completely different. The Raptor is like a passionate and unrestrained Western cowboy, and the G55 is more like a European knight, which still retains a bit of elegance in its bravery. When passing a Barnes & Noble bookstore, Locke remembered that he still had 2 learning cards that he had not used, so he stopped the car and prepared to go in and buy 2 books related to the 2 skills. It took a while to find a book about lip reading, and there were many books about psychological profiling. After getting in the car, Locke did not leave, but opened both books and flipped through a few pages carefully, and soon the panel changed. 2 new skills have been added to the skills that have been mastered: lip reading, L1 proficient, and psychological profiling, L1 proficient. Even though he had already had 1 experience, Locke still felt that this system was amazing. As long as there was a triggering medium, the learning card could be transformed into a real skill. In an instant, a lot of knowledge about lip reading and psychological profiling appeared in his mind, as if he had already mastered these 2 skills. You should know that the 5 years of experience awarded by the system is not learning experience, but use experience, so the lowest level L1 is already proficient. "Thank you, Mr. Henry Morgan, for the gift." Locke thought that maybe he should take some time to visit Grandma Nancy. Half an hour later, Locke's car drove into a high-end community in Glendale. Looking at the mansion in front of him that was no less expensive than his own house in Beverly Hills, he immediately realized that Jennifer Grey's identity should not be simple. Because of the geographical relationship, the mansion in front of him may not be as expensive as his own house, but it should at least cost several million US$. Locke called Jennifer Grey and told her that he had arrived. In less than 2 minutes, Jennifer Grey walked out of the house. I don't know if it was tacit understanding, she was also wearing a white t-shirt with washed jeans, her chest was full and her hips were tight and round. Locke was immediately amazed. Unlike the cold and elegant lady that night, Jennifer Grey gave people a bright and generous feeling today, showing a completely different beauty. She walked slowly, and the sunlight shone on her, making her seem to be dyed with a layer of rosy clouds, and her already fair skin suddenly glowed white. Locke inexplicably thought of Sarah Mendez whom he met yesterday. If Sarah Mendez is a sulfur chrysanthemum growing in the wilderness, then Jennifer Grey is a white rose growing in the valley. One is wild and gorgeous, and the other is elegant and generous. Hi, wow, a nice car. Walking to the car, Jennifer Grey waved to Locke and greeted him, with a happy smile on her face, as if she was looking forward to today's date. Hi, nice to see you again. After Jennifer Grey got in the car, Locke explained, my car was sent to the repair shop. This is my mother's car. I think you should like this car more than the Mercedes-Benz S600 or BMW 760. Jennifer Grey admired Locke's honesty, smiled at him, and nodded, yes, I like this car more. She asked expectantly, so, what are your plans for today's date, where are we going?